Rent didn't just nudge upward these last few years, it erupted by 32%, shattering every renter's idea of what was possible. It didn't matter if your city was booming, your landlord's expenses stayed flat, or inflation showed signs of cooling. Rents shot up even when wages didn't. Even when demand leveled off. Even when the apartments themselves never changed. Here's the crazy part. Rent didn't rise because something broke. It rose because it's perfectly engineered not to let you escape. The rent spike wasn't a blip. It was the clearest sign the game is rigged to keep you renting forever. Today, you'll see who's pulling the strings, how the system evolved to extract more from you every year, and exactly why rents never seem to come down no matter what. Stick with me. Because this isn't just a crisis, it's a machine. And I'll show you how to spot the cracks and use them before the next wave rolls in. Let's go right to the other side for a second. Imagine it's not accidental. Imagine a housing world where escape isn't just unlikely, it's structurally inconvenient to those in power. That's not conspiracy, that's history. Let me pull the curtain back and walk you through the blueprint of how American renting shifted from temporary stepping stone to a system built for permanent extraction. And by the end, I'll give you exactly the strategies top negotiators, data-driven renters, and even past subscribers have used to get leverage back. First, I want to set expectations. Every data point I use is sourced from real, up-to-date studies. From the Pew Research Center, Harvard's Joint Center for Housing Studies, HUD, Zillow, and more. All numbers, stats, and specific strategies are for educational purposes and not individualized financial advice. Regional outcomes will absolutely vary and nothing is guaranteed. Consult a local housing and financial pro before making any big decision. Let's rewind. Chapter 1. The age of option. Go back to the mid-20th century. Renting was a pit stop, not a permanent address. People in most cities could rent, save, and buy. Land was cheap, building was easy, and very few apartment blocks were hoovered up by massive corporations. Back then, renters like Angela, who you'll meet in a minute, had the upper hand. If rent crept up, you left. If it spiked, supply was loose enough to find a better deal nearby. You had options, leverage, and a pathway forward. But then, the structure began to shift. First slowly, and then all at once. Let me ground this with Angela's real story. Angela, 29, moved to Kansas City in 2016. Her rent? $850 a month for a small one-bedroom. Each year, small increases, $30, $40, then a sudden jump, $125 overnight. By 2021, Angela faced a bill of nearly $1,250 each month, almost 50% higher than 5 years earlier, despite no improvement in her apartment or her building's amenities. These increases didn't follow inflation. They didn't reflect wage growth. They weren't connected to anything obvious. Angela describes it like someone tightening their grip around my independence, just slowly enough that you almost get used to it. The final straw was that big jump. She crunched the numbers, saw her budget snapped, and had to move back in with family, letting go of her hard-won self-sufficiency. Not because she chose to, but because the cost of rent gave her no choice. Quick reality check. Angela's story is one individual's path. Your rent journey could feel steeper, smoother, or completely different depending on region. There are exceptions, but the big wave is real. Now, why did everything start to tilt? Chapter 2. Scarcity by design. The 1970s brought a secret weapon, Zong. Cities started limiting what could be built, where, and at what density, all in the name of protecting property values or neighborhood character. In practice, this made land more scarce, artificially limiting the homes available. Pew's 2021 report found that the average metro built 20% fewer new homes than true demand required each year. That means your rent started to rise decades before the word Wall Street landlord ever entered the picture. Harvard's Housing Center notes this isn't even controversial. That first choke point, set by city rules, triggered slow but relentless upward drift. Let's pause. Drop a me in the comments if you've ever felt, like Angela, that a rent increase came out of nowhere and just quietly kept shrinking your power. Let's see how common this really is in our home or invest community. But zoning was just the foundation. When the 1980s and 1990s hit, everything spun on its head yet again. Real estate transformed from a basic necessity to an investment vehicle. Rentals weren't about people. They were about portfolios. By 1998, REITs controlled $60 billion in assets. And in 1991, Blackstone, who you may have heard of, jumped in, unleashing a new flood of institutional money. The real paradigm shift? Rent wasn't about what you earned anymore. It was what the market would bear. HUD tracked this exact shift. In 1995, renters put 21% of their income towards rent. By 2020, it hit 30%. Landlords, big and small, realized something. People need shelter, and almost nobody can go without it, so raising prices had no true restraint. Rent inflation wasn't a bug. It became the entire business model. Here's Nico's story. A reality check from Atlanta. In 2018, Nico, 44, was renting a modest house with his family for $1,600 a month. But then the property sold to an investment group. Over 2 years, his rent soared to $2,250, a leap of nearly $650, all triggered by an algorithmic market review. It wasn't a neighbor you could knock on the door of. It was software. As more investment groups swooped in, every house on his block ratcheted up in cost. Eating out stopped. Family activities dropped. Long-term savings vanished. For Nico, the system itself was the landlord. Let's stop here. Was your rent ever changed by a corporate owner or a silent behind-the-scenes landlord? Share your experience. Your story might help another viewer spot the pattern before it's too late. So what happened next? Chapter 3. The corporate era emerges. Fast forward, the 2000s onward. Suddenly, entire apartment complexes started to get snapped up by corporations. In 2022, the 50 biggest landlords controlled 2 million plus units. Pricing wasn't decided by local managers, but by nationwide algorithms. According to the Urban Institute, 40% of managers used algorithmic pricing by 2021. Let's hit pause for a quick knowledge check. When you renew your lease, do you ever ask whether the rate is set by a human or software? Let me know in the comments below, even if your answer is, I have no idea. The luxury housing wave kicked into overdrive. In 2021, 25% of city neighborhoods saw median rents over $2,000, thanks to a combination of big money buyers and builder focus shifting toward high-end tenants. At the same time, the supply for affordable units just stopped growing. Chapter 4. The 2008 shock. 2008 bulldozed the market in a different way. With the foreclosure crisis, 2,900,000 American families lost their homes in 2009 alone. Many went straight from owner to renter. Wall Street saw the moment. 200,000 single-family homes, previously owned by regular families, suddenly became investments, bought in bulk. Institutional landlords got stronger as the U.S. homeownership rate sank below 64% for the first time. Power shifted out of communities and into consolidated hands. Let's open a curiosity loop. In a couple minutes, I'm going to show you a tactic one subscriber used to cut $250 off a rent spike using just a negotiation template and one key question. Keep watching and I'll give you the free script to try this yourself. Now into the 2020s. Where the machine kicked into high gear. Remote work set off a tidal wave of migration. In some cities, demand for rentals was up 14% in just a year. Builders couldn't keep up. In 2022, housing starts crashed by 18%. Supply chain chaos made building even slower. Inflation burned through any illusion of stability, with rents showing their fastest annual spike in 40 years. Meanwhile, mortgage rates broke 7%. Owning became nearly impossible for millions, leaving renters stuck with nowhere to move but up in price, not in living conditions. Let's humanize this with Maya's journey to Phoenix. It's a harsh example, but it's real. In 2021, Maya relocated for work and found a 2-bedroom for $1,600. After 1 year, her renewal clocked in at $2,200. That's a 37% increase. Not justified by a new gym, pool, nothing. When she pushed back, the answer was current market analysis. No further detail. Her home became not shelter, but a series of higher hurdles, each month shaving away hope for a down payment or a family of her own. Eventually, Maya had to trade her 2-bedroom for a single rented room with a roommate. More space, more privacy wasn't on the menu. Survival was. Chapter 5, 2025 and beyond. The renter's funnel. This is the landscape now. not a market, but a funnel. Each year, more are nudged upward into expensive rent tiers, while real ownership feels further from reach. Let's unpack the mechanism. Supply's artificially low. Zoning, old rules, resistance to density. The gap? 3,800,000 homes missing, according to Up for Growth 2023. Institutional landlords shape nearly 19% of rents in large apartments, using pricing software that tests your price sensitivity automatically. Investors buy up entry-level homes. 20% of U.S. starter homes per Redfin were investor purchases in 2022. With mortgage rates locked above 7%, anyone hoping to buy is trapped as a renter until the math shifts. Most new construction isn't for average families. 80% of new apartments in 2021 were luxury. Inflation gives every increase cover. Cities benefit from higher rental tax bases, so local governments rarely object. Let's try this. Type toolkit below if you want access to my free negotiation playbook and a checklist for fighting rent increases. I'll send you a link or pin it in the description. Here's what all these trends converge on. The system is optimized for you to remain a customer forever. Every law, algorithm, and investment model clicks together to raise your costs, limit your alternatives, and turn your payment into someone else's profit. Consequences? They cascade. Zoning blocks new affordable builds. Rent pricing software links hikes across entire cities. So negotiating one property means contending with a networked tide. Wall Street buys homes at a scale families can't match. Invitation Homes owned over 80,000 units in 2023. Mortgage rates lock people out, trapping renters who would otherwise leave. Developers chase high-margin luxury renters. Investors get rinsed every time a basic cost of living climbs, which is precisely why even 40 to 50% of an average family's income going to rent is normalized, per Harvard's 2022 findings. Here's the twist the industry doesn't want you to see. High rent isn't the system breaking, it's the intended outcome. Predictable cash flow makes for stable financial returns. REITs saw a 15% return in 2021. Those returns turn your rent into a security, which is then resold, sliced up, and turned into a new asset for someone else to trade. The system isn't rooting for you to leave the rental pool. It needs you to stay in it, year after year. If this is ringing true, or you've seen it firsthand, comment stuck. I want to gauge just how common this feeling really is for our viewers. Chapter 6. Real people in a perfect machine. Let's bring it back to real ground. Liam, 37, in Denver. 8 years in the same place, until in just 3, his rent soared from $1,400 to $2,100. No renovations, just more investor buying and predictive price bumps. Lease after lease arrived with higher numbers and less explanation. When he tried to negotiate, the answer was always, "That's what the market dictates." In his words, "My future feels like it's being designed by hands I'll never meet." Let me tease a quick win before we get tactical. In 2 minutes, I'll walk you through the exact email script one viewer used to push down a renewal offer. Actual text, so get ready to screenshot or grab the toolkit below. Now here's where it shifts. If you feel cornered, the first thing to know is you are not alone. Millions are. But that means millions are inside a system designed to push people. But every system, no matter how robust, has seams. By seeing the structure, you can spot cracks and plan your move. The 10-step strategy I'm about to walk through comes straight from people in our own Homer Invest community, backed by proven tactics, negotiation psychology, and community shared experience. But before I get into the solution steps, please remember, none of this is personalized advice. And not every landlord, region, or property will respond the same way. These are starting points, not guarantees. Always check your local laws and consult trusted advisors. Now, let's break down the steps for leverage so you can reclaim some power. Strategy chapter, 10 steps to renter leverage. Step 1, document your case. Gather market data, comparable listings, decade trends, and any maintenance issues or deficiencies in your unit. Approach your landlord with facts, not emotion. Step 2, offer stability. Propose a longer lease term, for example, 18 to 24 months, in exchange for lower monthly rent. Landlords often value having a committed, stable tenant more than squeezing every dollar out of a short lease. Step 3. Negotiate concessions. If your landlord won't budge on price, ask for value adds, free parking, utilities, waived pet fees, storage, or reductions in security deposit. Each of these can relieve real monthly burden. Need inspiration? Here's the negotiation email template a subscriber used for a win. Hi land, I've enjoyed living here and want to stay, but the renewal increase would stretch me past my budget. I noticed similar units nearby listed for dollars and have always paid on time. Would you consider dollars for a 12-month renewal, or adding if that's not possible? I'm ready to sign today if we can make this work. Screenshot that or comment toolkit if you want it in my free checklist and script bundle. Step 4. Strengthen your tenant profile. Pay on time, communicate proactively, and keep care records for your unit. Tenants with clean, long tenures wield more influence in renewal talks. Step 5. Broaden your search. Sometimes the best strategy is geographic. Emerging cities, overlooked neighborhoods, even nearby commuter towns can offer far better deals. Zillow and regional rental guides are your friends. Do the research. Step 6. Be wary of luxury new builds. Only consider these if they're offering aggressive move-in incentives, not because they're shiny. Most are targeting investor returns, not average renters. Step 7. Bundle essentials. Shop for combined renter's insurance, internet, and utilities for discounts. Every dollar saved lowers your effective rent. Step 8. Build your border. Set up an automatic rent buffer fund savings, even if it's just $10 per month. A small reserve helps cover surprise increases or emergencies. Step 9. Don't abandon ownership goals. Even if buying seems impossible, track entry points, regional programs, and low percentage down options. Sometimes a small condo or less popular area becomes your foot in the door. Step 10. Stay informed and empowered. Knowledge is armor. Watch the patterns, start early, and check in with resources like Homer Invests or local advocacy groups before your lease is up. Bonus, if you fought and won against a rent hike, even a small one, share your story below. Someone else might need your playbook. If this resource helps, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Next week, I'm sharing real success stories from this channel to show exactly how these strategies get results. And remember, type toolkit below for your negotiation script and checklist link. All the real estate and rental information in this video is general. Your situation, your market, and your mileage will vary. Please consult with qualified local advisors on anything major, and never act on YouTube information alone, no matter how persuasive the data looks. Let's do a quick recap. Rents have jumped by 32% in recent years for reasons that aren't personal, they're systemic. We covered how policy, corporate investment, and algorithmic pricing combined to turn rent from a necessity into a permanent business model. But we also broke down 10 actionable steps you can use to build real leverage, from negotiation and research to smart searching and expense bundling. Your most valuable resource isn't just a few extra dollars each month. It's understanding how the system works, so you see cracks others miss. Here's what you can do starting this week. Document your market data and rent history. Line up 2 comparable listings to reference and draft your negotiation email. Over the next 30 days, research both local pricing trends and smaller regional alternatives. See if a better deal is hiding just outside your comfort zone. By 6 months from now, aim to have a rent buffer fund started, plus at least 1 round of negotiations under your belt, even if it's just for a small concession or a stable lease. Be realistic. Change usually happens stepwise, not overnight. Most viewers who've seen real results from these strategies notice early wins, like waived fees or a $50 reduction within weeks. But the bigger progress, like a successful move or securing a longer-term affordable lease, often comes within 6 months to a year. Expect volatility, but know that every negotiation or smart decision creates momentum. If today's episode gave you clarity, subscribe to Homer Invests and turn on notifications. Next week, I'll share real viewer stories that put these steps steps into action. Don't forget to comment toolkit below if you want my free negotiation email script and checklist, and please share your own experience if you've faced down a rent hike before. Your advice could shift someone's future. Remember, nothing in this video is individualized financial or legal advice.
All information here is educational and general.
Your situation will differ, so always consult local housing professionals before acting. And never make a major move just on the basis of a YouTube video. Get the facts for your unique case. Wishing you real leverage and real progress. See you in the next deep dive.